Jai Swaminarayan. Today let's read the 10th passage from the second Gadhadā. This passage is titled, Safeguarding the Fetus in the Form of Faith in God. At the time of recording, I'm a little sick, so at least this body is, and so I apologize if that makes it difficult to fully engage in today's reading. But I'm sure it won't be that much of a problem. Let's dive right into it. On Shravan Vadhi III, Samvat 1878, or the 16th of August 1821, Swami Sri Sahajanand Ji Maharaj arrived at Lakshmi Vadhi on horseback. On his mare named Monkey from wait a second, I skipped a page. From Dada Kachar's Darbar in Gadhadā. There he sat facing north on the square platform under the mango tree. He was dressed entirely in white clothes. At that time, an assembly of Paramhansas as well as devotees from various places had gathered before him. Thereupon Sriji Maharaj said, "The Srimad Bhagavat proclaims that Brahman possesses a form. However, if those who read it do not have bhakti, loving devotion for God, they will understand God to be formless, even from reading the Srimad Bhagavat. Also, from the second canto, which describes the characteristics of the refuge of God, those who are lacking in bhakti will again understand God to be formless. In reality, though, God is not formless. Why? Because it is through God that everything mobile and immobile is created. Now, if God were formless, then how could he create something that possesses a form? For example, Akash, space, is formless. Therefore, pots and other forms that can be created from Prithvi, from the earth, cannot be created from that Akash. In the same manner, since Brahma, the creator, and the rest of creation possesses a form, God and their creator also definitely possess a form. Moreover, the Srimad Bhagavat states, the supporter of Adhyatma, Adhibhut, and Adhidev is God. That's the indweller of the self, Atma, the elements, the Bhuts, and the Devas, deities. Now, I shall explain how, so please listen carefully. Adhyatma, the Indriyas, the senses of Virat Purush, the cosmic form, Adhibhut, his 5 Mahabhuts, and Adidev, the presiding devas of the Indriyas of Virat Purush, all entered Virat. Despite this, Virat was unable to rise. Only when Vasudev Bhagwan assumed the form of Purush, the primordial consciousness, and entered Virat Purush, did Virat Purush rise. That God thus acts with oneness. And unlike total unity, this oneness should be understood to be unity through the Antaryami power of God, the power to be the indweller of all beings. God thus acts with oneness with the Adhyatma, Adhibhut, and Adidev of Virat Purush. In reality, however, he is distinct from Virat, and only this form of God is said to be worthy of seeking refuge. For example, fire in the form of light is formless, while Agni, the god of fire, suffered from indigestion. Oh, I skipped a line, sorry. While Agni himself possesses a definite form. Moreover, when Agni suffered from indigestion, and here indigestion refers to Agni not being able to bear his own extraordinary heat, he came to Krishna and Arjun in his personified form. Then, when he went to burn the Kandhav forest of Indra, that same Agni assumed the form of flames and spread throughout the whole forest. In the same way, Purushottam Bhagwan pervades all through his Antaryami powers, which are Brahmarup, which are of possessing divine form. Yet, possessing a definite form, he is also distinct from all. Brahman, and in this context, Brahman refers to the divine light of Purushottam Bhagwan and should not be understood to mean Akshar Brahman. Itself is a ray of the light of Purushottam Bhagwan, while God himself always possesses a form. Therefore, a person who aspires to attain liberation should realize God to possess a definite form and should maintain their firm refuge. Moreover, they should speak in such a manner so as to not break someone's refuge of God. For example, just as a woman who carries a fetus in her womb attains a child, one who carries a fetus in the form of faith in God attains Akshardham. Therefore, one should practice such methods whereby that fetus is never endangered. One should also talk to others in such a way that that fetus in the form of faith in God does not miscarry. Thereafter, Sriji Maharaj returned to Gadhadā Akshar Darbar from Lakshmivadi. There he sat on a large decorated cot on the veranda outside the east-facing rooms. At that time, an assembly of Paramhansas, as well as devotees from various places, had gathered before him. Then Sriji Maharaj summoned the junior Paramhansas and initiated a discussion amongst them. Achintyananda Swami then asked a question. Of the three, Gyan, Vairagya, and Bhakti, this is knowing wisdom, worldly dispassion, and loving devotion, which one plays a more significant role in fostering affection for God? No one was able to answer that question. So Sriji Maharaj said, "Here, I shall answer that question, and I shall also describe the characteristics of Jnana, Vairagya, and the Bhakti in turn. All people have a tendency such that on seeing an enticing object, their affection for any object that is not as enticing will naturally diminish. Thus, before the bliss of God's Akshardham, highest abode, these worldly pleasures seem artificial. Permanent bliss can only be found in the abode of God. Therefore, if while listening to the talks about God, the bliss related to God is realized, then everything that has evolved from Maya, material existence, will appear worthless. For example, a person with a copper coin in their hand will lose affection for it when someone offers them a gold coin in exchange. In the same way, when one realizes the bliss related to God, one develops vairagya towards all worldly pleasures, and one develops love only for the form of God. That is the form of vairagya. Now I shall describe the form of Jnana. There are two sets of scriptures that explain Jnana. One set is the Sankhya scriptures, and the other set is the Yoga scriptures. Of these, the doctrine of the Sankhya scriptures is as follows. Akash, space, pervades Prithvi, earth, Jal, water, Tej, fire, and Vayu, air. And there is not even a single Anu that is devoid of Akash, space. Still, the shortcomings of Prithvi, Jal, etc. do not affect Akash at all. In the same manner as Akash, no Mayak material flaw can affect Purushottam Bhagwan. This fact is mentioned in the Krishnatapni Upanishad as follows. When Durvasa Rishi came to Vrindavan, Sri Krishna Bhagwan told the gopis, Durvasa Rishi is hungry. So all of you take dishes of food and go to him. Then the gopis asked, "But the Yamuna flows along the way. How shall we be able to cross it?" Sri Krishna Bhagwan replied, "Tell Yamunaji that if Sri Krishna is forever a brahmachari, then please make way for us." Brahmachari is one who follows the vow of brahmacharya, which can be translated to celibacy, but more literally translates to the way of God, as not an injunction that you should or should not follow, in the sense of a possibility of restraining the sexual energies so as to cultivate an even higher consciousness. Laughing, the gopis went to the banks of the Yamuna and said this. Immediately, Yamunaji gave way. The gopis fed the rishi, and he in turn ate all of the food. Then the gopis asked him, "How shall we return home as the Yamuna flows along the way?" The rishi then asked them, "How did you get here?" The gopis then explained, "Sri Krishna had told us that if he has been a brahmachari since childhood, then asked Yamunaji to give way. Thus Yamunaji gave way, and we have come to you." Hearing this, the rishi said, "Now tell Yamunaji that if Durvasa is continuously fasting, then please give way to us." Again, laughing, the gopis said this. Immediately, Yamunaji gave way. On seeing these two incidents, the gopis were totally dumbfounded. And if you didn't catch that, it's because Krishna appears to have many beloved partners, and they literally just fed the rishi some food. So how can Krishna be a brahmachari, and how can Rishi Durvasa be one who is constantly fasting? Therefore, Shriji Maharaj continues, God is unaffected in the same manner as Akash, and despite being the doer of all actions, God still remains a non-doer. Although he is associated with all, he remains absolutely aloof. In this way, the Sankhya scriptures describe God as being unaffected. To understand this is Jnana, according to the Sankhya doctrine. Now I shall explain the doctrine of the Yoga scriptures, so please listen. The doctrine of Yoga is that whosoever wishes to meditate on God should first stabilize their vision. To stabilize the vision, it should first be fixed upon the form of God or some other object. Then, while staring at the same object, the vision becomes steady, and with it the antahkaran, the inner faculties of cognition, including the mind, also become steady. When the antahkaran becomes steady, God's form should be beheld in the heart. This would not be strenuous for the yogi who attempts to behold the form. In fact, they can behold it quite easily. However, if, from the beginning, a person does not stabilize their antahkaran through practice, then, when they do meditate on God, many other types of disturbing thoughts arise and obstruct their path. Thus, the principle of the Yoga scriptures is as follows. The vritti, the thought force, should first be stabilized through practice before it is attached to God. Realizing this is jnana, according to the Yoga scriptures. Therefore, to consolidate one's understanding through the doctrines of those two scriptures is known as jnana, which again means knowing wisdom. Now, the method of practicing bhakti, loving devotion, is as follows. When the ocean was churned, Lakshmiji emerged from the ocean. After taking a marriage garland in her hand, Lakshmiji thought, "Who is suitable for marriage? I shall marry him." Then, whenever she looked, and examined Whoever was handsome lacked virtues, and whoever possessed virtues lacked beauty. In this way she noticed great shortcomings in many. Then she saw all of the devas, the divine beings, and all of the demons, the lower beings, as possessing such shortcomings as well. Finally, seeing that it was only God who was complete with all virtues, without any faults at all, and the source of all bliss, Lakshmi Ji developed profound bhakti towards God. With intense love, she placed the marriage garland around God's neck and married God. Therefore, to realize such redemptive virtues in God and to seek His firm refuge is known as bhakti. Hearing this, Muktanand Swami asked Sriji Maharaj, Maharaj, I have not yet quite understood which of the three, of Jnana, Vairagya or Bhakti, has the greater power in fostering affection for God. Then Sriji Maharaj replied, Bhakti has a lot of power, and while Jnana and Vairagya also have such power, it is not as much as that of Bhakti. However, true Bhakti is extremely rare. The characteristics of those who possess Bhakti are as follows. When God assumes a form like a human for the sake of the liberation of the jivas, the souls, and travels on this earth, many of God's actions are divine and many appear to be mayic, material. When God assumed the avatar, the descension of Krishna, He gave darshan, divine viewing presence, to Devaki and Vasudev in a four-armed form. He also lifted Mount Govardhan. He cleansed the Yamuna's waters of poison by removing Kalyanag. He subdued the infatuation of Brahma and gave darshan to Akrurji in the waters of the Yamuna. He also dispelled the strife of all of the Yadavs by killing the wrestlers, an elephant, as well as wicked persons like Kansa. Similarly, in the avatar of Ram, he broke the bow and also dispelled the strife of the Devas by killing wicked persons such as Ravana. These and other such exploits are known as the divine actions of God. However, when Sita was abducted, Raghunath Ji appeared to have become insane due to constant crying. In the avatar of Krishna, he fled from Kalyavan, was defeated by Jarasandh, and also had to relinquish his kingdom in Mathura to go and settle on an island in the sea. These and other such actions of God appear to be human-like. Even a sinner would perceive divinity in the divine actions of God. A true devotee of God, however, would perceive divinity even when God performs human-like actions. In the Gita, God has said in the 9th verse of the 4th chapter, Janma karma cha me divyam evam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham bhunar janma naiti mameti sorjuna. This verse means, O Arjuna, my birth and my actions are divine. They who realize them as divine will not take another birth when they leave this body. Rather, they will attain mine. So, whenever God performs divine actions, they appear divine to both the devotee and to one who is not a devotee. However, when God performs human-like actions, a true devotee still perceives divinity in them, but by no means do they perceive flaws in such actions of God. Having such understanding is known as having bhakti, loving devotion towards God. In fact, only such devotees earn the fruits mentioned in the above verse. The gopis, the milk maidens, were devotees of God, and they never in any way perceived flaws in God. On the other hand, merely by listening to the talks about the gopis, King Parikshit perceived a flaw in God. Shukaji then explained those flaws to be false by illustrating the powers of God. Therefore, bhakti, loving devotion in which one perceives all of the actions and incidents of God as being divine, as the gopis did, and never perceives a flaw by understanding them to be human-like, is very rare. In fact, it is not achieved by merely doing good deeds for 1 or 2 lives. Rather, only when the pure samskars, the impressions of many lives accumulate, does bhakti like that of the gopis develop. In fact, such bhakti is itself the highest state of enlightenment. It is this type of bhakti that is greater than jnana and vairagya. If a person has such bhakti in their heart, what would be lacking in their love for God? Nothing would be lacking. So, thank you very much for listening to the 10th verse of the 2nd Gadhadā of the Vachanāmrut. Jai Swaminarayan.